Great. And are you recording as well?
Yes, I am.
All right, great. So as I was saying, I'm Patrick Martin. I work for a company called EigenX. We're a local Philadelphia area consulting partner. We're based in Philadelphia, Radnor area. We also have a satellite office in New York. We're also partners with other technologies, Tableau prior to Salesforce purchasing them, Microsoft, which Salesforce hasn't acquired yet. I don't think they're going to anytime soon. But we do other offerings as well. These are a couple of our representative clients. We do have a lot in the higher ed space, as you kind of see here. We work through a lot of nonprofit as well in the Philadelphia area, and some of the larger kind of .com for-profit companies as well. And as I was saying, here's a few of the other technology partners we're partners with. So Looker, Snowflake, Salesforce, Burst, Oracle, Microsoft, Amazon, et cetera there. We primarily focus in CRM, obviously Salesforce being the largest CRM platform we work with. Analytics, as I mentioned, Tableau, Looker, Burst, Einstein Analytics. I'm actually credited in Einstein Analytics and Discovery. And we practice a lot of these deliveries in agile methodologies. We do have some pure kind of PMs or agile Scrum Masters in different areas in company or different projects we work on. And then we also do some different just custom application and app dev, depending on some .NET, some integration ETL type work. And obviously, if you're working with Salesforce or any other platform, you're probably getting into some integration types of technologies as well. So I've experienced technology consultant, about 15 years of experience. I'm accredited in Salesforce Manufacturing Cloud, and as I mentioned, Einstein Analytics and Discovery. I personally live in the Wayne area, or in Wayne. So when I do go to our local office, which isn't, well, in the normal world, I'm there a few days a week, and then I'm out at the client sites a few other days a week. So it's not that long of a commute for me when I'm actually in an office, but now I'm at home, so I don't do that. My handle on the Trailblazer is just pmartin1 if you're looking for me, or LinkedIn is Patrick Martin. I can be found at either of those, and I'll answer questions there if you have any questions for me there. Suraj, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Patrick.
Yep.
Thanks, Patrick. So I've been with EigenX for around 4 years now. I have 5 Salesforce certifications, and my projects are mainly on surveys, community, and higher ed. I have been doing Java development before, and now I mainly do admin stuff in Salesforce. Thanks.
So we wanted to also kind of, I'm not going to be doing a survey, but feel free to speak up here if there's use cases around communities and chat that you or your organization might be thinking about. We outlined a few here, and we can obviously cover a few others if there are hot topics. But we want to look to use it to, one of the main reasons people will use chat or communities is to, serve up content or provide content in a different way, or answers in a different way than taking inbound calls, specifically to like a call center or things like an area like that. Increase digital engagement, which obviously if you're increasing digital engagement, you're probably going to reduce some of the inbound calls with your customers and partners. Share row level. The ability to share row level data and content in a scalable manner, which also ties to the next bullet point of you can create a public community or a private community. And if you're using a private community, you can obviously restrict or tighten up the security and the sharing of what data you're trying to share by using multiple methods of roles, profiles, sharing roles, all the normal things that you do with probably your internal teams as well. And then things with with a community or with public knowledge base, or even using potentially like an Einstein chat, you can provide 24/7 support where you might not truly have a human being supporting customers 24/7. So it allows for better, day-round support. Did anybody else have any other use cases that they wanted to see or were thinking of? Curious if communities or chat could do. And feel free to drop anything in the chat as I'm going through anything. I'll glance over here occasionally to the
try and
chat
keep
window to see if
chat for you, Patrick.
Yep. And the other thing I did want to point out here, if nobody has any other use cases, is there are separate licensing and costs than standard Sales Cloud. So I did provide a few links here in the presentation itself. Let me go through that. There we go. I'm not going to go in depth in that right now, but just wanted to provide the link so everybody's aware that they are separate licensing and separate products that Salesforce offers. If there's nothing else with that, I think we can go into the Salesforce itself and start going through some of this and see if there's anything else that anybody has. Some of the main areas we were going to cover were the in the communities were the content and content management system, the case form, so web to case, a little bit of curated knowledge, and then embedded chat and live agent. So, and then there are several other features which I'm sharing a link to. I'm sure many of you know of who Salesforce Ben is, but he had an article out, a blog out recently where he had guide to Einstein AI products, and it's different features that you may or may not already have in your orgs. Outside of these, there's things like Einstein Search and Einstein Opportunity Score, which are, I think Einstein Search is in beta, and Einstein Opportunity Score was just rolled out or is being rolled out currently to, I think, most people. So, so a good article to read and does cover some key features that we probably won't touch on too much today, but they're out there. So if there's nothing else, I will start to jump into this a little bit, and feel free to jump in. I do want to make this interactive, and I do appreciate feedback, or if anybody has questions, or if I'm moving too fast, any of that, just jump in and feel free to speak up. So if you go into, this is a developer org that I have created. If you go into and look for communities in your developer org, or an org that you have communities access to, I think initially you get to here and it asks you if you want to enable communities, and then once you hit yes, just like you enable pretty much any other feature in Salesforce, you get a lot more settings and options. It might be community settings initially. There are a lot of options that come with communities. We're not going to focus on them all, but just be aware that there's a lot more to this than what I'm going to show today. To spin up a new community, you click New Community, and there are already a bunch of templates that Salesforce offers. So Help Center, which is mostly focused on knowledge and knowledge articles. Does everybody in the meeting know what knowledge articles are and kind of some use cases of those? And if not, we can get into that a little bit more too.
We're a quiet group tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the e-money side, we use them pretty regularly. We built a knowledge base up pretty good, and that's one of our big initiatives. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to add, our goal this year is last year we took on enabling live agent. Our goal this year is to move towards more self-service, Einstein Bots. Patrick, you and I talked about that a little bit, and kind of hook that up to knowledge and suggested articles while coming from web to case or just using chat in general.
Okay, great. Yeah, so this help center one is mostly a kind of knowledge focused, customer service, self-service focused help center, really for the purpose of serving up customer service initiatives. There's the customer account portal. So this is more of a, if you think B2C type of a portal, you can, in all of these, you can really do a lot of the same functions. Some of them do have different components that come native to the template you're using. You can just search customer service, I think, templates, and it'll show you what components are native to each of these components. And then this is a little bit more in-depth customer service focused portal. And then there's a partner portal, which is more of a B2B focus type portal. So you think if you're dealing with other companies and you want to share content with them, that's going to be a little more secured. And you can, and any of these you can put it, a chat or any of the things we're kind of covered today. For this, I'll just select the partner portal for now. It's one that I'm kind of already built a demo out for. And as you see, I can I don't know where. So a new portal will spin up for you. Going through, you have to give it a name that you're going to give it to, and select next. I did create another portal, so if this does take too long, I have a backup plan, don't worry. But it doesn't. It's very quick. It starts that portal up. As I said, there's the template and everything's created pretty quickly. Here's the initial setup you get there. As in sales and service and other areas, they have the guided setup, which is a very nice way to kind of go through the initial setup if you haven't set up a portal before or community before. But we're going to go into the builder area for now of this. And I'll show a few things here. So the builder area is kind of where you can configure and change a lot of the components and the look and feel of the site. Rather than going into that one, I'm going to go to this one I had already started creating. Since these meetups are typically held at the Penn State Great Valley campus, I chose Penn State as a theme here. I also went to Penn State, so kind of double whammy for me on the theme there. One area I was going to go into a little bit is you can change the themes on top of the initial templates. There are different themes that you can also select from here. We're just using the Partner Central right now, but you could change any of these themes and it would change the look and feel of the template you're using. I'm just going to continue to use this one to not skew things too much. The colors, if you have a color guide or standard set of colors that you're using, you can select them here. There's also the ability to do custom CSS if you need to get to that level of detail, or and you can even get into details of managing your branding there. Similarly, you can load your logo here. If there's any background images, these are just point click, load the images type features. It does come with some pretty basic levels of font that you can select from. And there are some other theme settings, like if you want to hide the notification bar at the top that you would normally see, you can hide that. You can hide the username. So if it's more of a public community, you might want to hide some of these things. I think you can hide the search. There's a variety of things that you can add or remove from your templates here. The Any questions on the theme or how to, kind of some of those generic branding things there?
None in the chat.
Okay.
I have one question. Sorry to interrupt. Like, does all the themes, right? Does it come along with the inbuilt package itself, or do we need to pay anything extra to get this themes?
For these themes, no, I don't believe you pay any extra for them. Most of these come with it. There are other themes and templates out there. I know through the manufacturing accreditation I have, there's actually a theme if you have manufacturing cloud that is specifically for it's more focused on manufacturing type theme. So there might be more than just these themes. These are the basic ones that I think everybody gets, but there is possibly more depending on if you're looking to do something in a specific vertical or specific area. So definitely look for that. Depending on your use case, it's worth seeing if there's other themes out there. And you can, back where we created the template, you can create custom templates too. You don't have to work from the templates out there. I also am pretty certain I'm almost positive there's themes and templates in the app exchange of Salesforce. So if you go into the look up Salesforce apps, there are other themes out there that other companies have developed or used for other use cases.
Okay, thanks for that. And one other question, if you don't mind, or you can answer later also. So to access these communities, right, do we need to have any additional license from Salesforce or the default license, right? Few license guest user like.
No, and that's what I was saying. That so there are separate licensing and costs for communities and chat. You'll probably have to talk to the account exec is exactly what your use case is. If you're using a public community, you might be able to get away with that using the partner, the different licensings for community users. Because if I built this same community out for different customers or different partners that needed some type of restricted access, where they would log in up here, there would be a fee. Definitely. So there's always a fee associated with the login, pretty much. Shouldn't say always, but yep. So in here, you also have the page structure, so you can see the different things here. There's a language selector up there. There's the different components that are on this page. And then in your general settings, you can, so I made this a public can access this community here. And I'll send this link out to everybody in the chat shortly so you guys can click through it yourself and you can see what it looks like from your side. I just showed, just as an example, you can select multi-language and import translations. You can put a language selector here if you do have a use case for multiple languages. I'm not going to go deep into that today, but you can add different navigations. If you are setting up SEO, you can connect into, you can set up different SEO here. When you get into, I know there's a couple of people that are interested in knowledge. Some of the tagging that you do based on articles can be basically used in the SEO, and they can kind of be inherited from the tagging that you do on the knowledge articles. It's search engine optimization for those that don't know what SEO is. There's also the ability to put a Google Analytics tracking ID here. So if you're using Google Analytics to track your community, your website, see what people are most frequently viewing, you can do that through here. And so in here, you can set different security for the links and different things that you might be accessing through your page. As you see here, there's a lot of trusted sites that I've kind of added here. That's so images and different things that I'm kind of borrowing from the different locations here would show up in this community. So I whitelisted them all and added them to the CSP trusted sites for this demo. And that's most of what I was going to show in there. Suraj, is there anything I'm missing in this area that you think I needed to cover? I mean, I'm going to go through each of the components in different areas, but
No, I think you're good there, Patrick.
okay. There's also the administration. So in here you have a bunch of other features, and to the point of this is a public community, but if I did want to add by profile, or if I want to add different customers or partner profiles, I could add their profiles in here if I had a secured community. Your community does not need to be 100% secured or 100% locked down. You can do it tab by tab, and I'll show what I'm talking about there as we go through this a little more. So you can kind of have like certain tabs will be completely public, where other tabs will be locked down, and you only get to see them when you log in. You can configure login pages, and that's kind of mostly what I was going into here. All right, so a couple of the components or areas we wanted to talk. The first one I had mentioned was CMS. So there's a component here. Here's all your components that you have access to. You can show Einstein Analytics. You can show Calendar, CMS. I'll show a couple of examples of these as well, but I'll just drag and drop one just so you can see. So if I want to add a calendar component, I can just drag and drop it. There are some configurable settings here. So
Patrick, we did have a question in chat. It was, is there a limit feature to limit free access for like 10-page views? So I'm guessing like is there a limit?
I don't think there is, as long as you're not logging in or there's no restrictions to what the data you're trying to share is. As long as you don't need that person to log in to control access to something, I'm pretty sure it's free access to all the pages that they want to see, and number of views is fine too. I mean, definitely check that with their, again, with the Salesforce, but I'm not selling the licensing here. I'm just showing you how to do it. So.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep. And then, so all those components are drag and drop in here. There's different, you can add feed components, files, libraries, quick documents, gamification. So if you're using something like My Trailhead, or as kind of like a learning management type system, or a way to train either internal employees or external customers and partners, you can create your own version of Trailhead, basically with, badges and leaderboards and things like that to promote learning with whatever your, products are. Not, we all have probably done Trailhead or learned something through Trailhead. It's basically like that, but for the products or whatever you're, whatever your company sells or offers services in. The messages, you can do process flows, automation, records, activities, support, and topics. We'll get into the support a little bit. That's one of the areas we're going to focus on, and the CMS and some of the knowledge. So here, as you see, there's this was the CMS collection component. I drag and dropped this collection component here, and I'm using what is, it's saying the admissions collection. Well, what that's using is in the content management area here, there's the ability to use Salesforce CRM as to call content. So you can add a content connection to any object within Salesforce, Here I chose products, but if you have data and other objects that you want to share, like in a list view, you could select that. Should go over here and show. In here, I had created in Salesforce products in the normal product object in Salesforce, just by creating new, I created 6 products here, continuing education, graduate, law, medicine, online, undergraduate. I got these directly from Penn State's website. The product description or the description of each of those offerings they have is the description. This is just a normal product page here. I'm in the Service Console, so it's a little different than most people would see in Sales Console, but I just put the product name, the description, and the display URL is the image that it's showing here. So if I just were to click on this URL, it's that image there. And if you create a list view, which I did here called admissions, and you put whatever fields you want in that list view, you can then, as long as I'm now connected to products, I can go into a collection and call that list view by going to Salesforce CRM. My product is the one object that I've associated, and it gives me both list views that I have associated with product right now, all products, which most of us have an all opportunities, all products, all accounts, all whatever. Or you can create a list view with a filter on it, which has, and what fields I wanted, so name, description, family, display URL. I didn't really need family. The only reason I have that is just I put family admissions so I could actually filter these easier. So I had some type of data to trim down on my product list. And if I were to select admissions there, it would come up like this. And you'd now see my list view as content with images here. Well, over here in this, I can configure, there's a lot of options to configure or change what's being shown here. So you can do it in a grid-like view here. I could throw it into a carousel. This will change here in a second. And you could carousel through these, strip, slideshow, etc. And they're all, I'm going to go back to this just because it shows them all. And I can set the number of columns per row, or columns here, and a number of rows to display as well. So I have a 3 and 2, so it's 3 across, 2 down. That's why it's displayed there. I could change it just as easy to a 2 and 3, so it's going to go 2 and 3 down. Spacing between them. There's a bunch of parameters here. I'm not going to go through every single one to show all these, but you can, change the coloration, everything. There's also this whole other section, which is the content layout. So in these, you see the title and the description, and then the image in the background. It's kind of there, or I can have the image at the top with the title and description showing below it, like that, or a left-right type scenario. There again, even with this content layout section, there's a bunch of configuration settings that are here. The most important to initially get it to look halfway decent is going to be your field mapping. So your headline is your product name here. Your subheading, which is your description, is your description. And then the display URL, or those images, are pulling from that display URL that I had in my product data. So that's how in this list view, well, right there, basically it looks exactly like this list view. It's just, making it look better for a front end type of, website or web experience. Yeah, and I'm just reading Jim's comment there, or question there. Jim, it depends, I guess, what they're trying to display. Products, obviously, if a company is a product type of company where they're trying to sell, products, if those aren't looking in the chat, Jim asked if most people use a product object for collections, or is it common to use other objects. It really depends. If somebody has a campaign and they have certain content that they want to share around the campaign, you could just select the campaign. Or if it's training material that you're doing and you have a custom object even that's for certifications or training, you could have different trainings here. it really depends on the structure that you're using. You know, obviously as a recommendation of, if you're using Salesforce, try to use out-of-box objects as much as possible. You'll get the native upgrades, you'll get all the inherent upgrades and features that Salesforce offers. Creating a lot of custom objects and a lot of custom code can be a lot more to maintain than you might want to do. So it's really kind of client dependent in what's available, and if there's a similar feature that's already there for you, or if you really have to go custom. Does that help, Jim? Yeah, so, okay. And Vinod's question about, does it strictly to Service Cloud? No, you don't have to have Service Cloud to use communities. Just some of the features here that I will get into are tied to Service Cloud in itself. This feature, this component right here is not associated with Service Cloud. So that's how these views look like that. The component style, I can use aspect ratios, which might make my images look weird. It's not too bad, actually. You can change the sizing, feature media. You can use videos here. So if I had embedded videos rather than images, you can embed videos as well. And like I said, I'm not going to get into all these, but there are a lot of other point-click configurable type parameters on this component. This is probably one of the more robust components that I've seen in the community, but as you can see, it offers, there's a lot of value into it, in my opinion, because it gives a lot of depth into the content that you can kind of share out of your back-end or to your front-end customers and partners. There's also single CMS components, so you don't have to use a collection. You can enable CMS in your environment. Let me see if I have that just enabled. I'm not going to go into this far either, but there's an ability to add CMS home, and you can enable CMS in Salesforce. You can create a workspace. You can create single pieces of, put it there, there. You can share your content actually in not just your community, but also other channels here. Like, as you can see, if you're using Marketing Cloud or Heroku or any other areas, you can create that content in one place and then share it out to multiple channels. So that's also a really nice feature if you're using multiple areas. I think. Well, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. You can create basically a single piece of content there. The other thing I was going to show is, so these two, so in your navigation, you can customize your navigation. This one I have as a, this is publicly available. This is kind of where I was saying login will make a difference. This one you see is publicly available. It links to an external link, so I'm linking this directly to a Penn State academics. This one is links to an internal community page, which is publicly available. And tuition and finance is not publicly available. You'd have to log in to see this. And then support and contact us and knowledge will be publicly available. And I can show a little bit of that here in that, you know, as an authenticated user, you can see your things. I can see the tuition aid. If I go in as a guest user, that tuition and financial aid is going to disappear here. And that's how I set up this community. So just as a demo to kind of show here. So you can restrict what people see based on login or not login. So that's the knowledge one. In here too, this is what I was showing, is you can do other components like the Einstein Analytics. I'm not going to go deep into this either, but I have Einstein Analytics enabled in this org, and I've created some dashboards. So you could have kind of, you know, in my admissions, if I had maybe a secure area, maybe not. I could share emissions for specific areas, so users can see where they're, where people are coming from. These are just made up numbers based actually on opportunity data. And then for this one, this is kind of the knowledge piece. This is where I was showing knowledge and featured topics and getting into that a little more. So if you have knowledge enabled topics, there's and same in this content management area. There's two other pieces I didn't cover, which are topics and recommendations. So in your topics, you can create topics for your knowledge articles, which it's basically going to be your high-level tagging that you'd have to your knowledge articles. For this one, I just created two topics: emissions and academics. And then I created them as navigation topics as well as featured topics. This is where you can map them to the data category that's within Salesforce. You have to use the knowledge and data tagging data categories within Salesforce, so you can do the mapping from articles from the back end to the front end. Similarly, you can have featured topics. I made them the same here. I put these images here that you saw on this last page. Just as kind of images to show how you can do that. And you can this is where you can map your topics as well. There's once you create that mapping to your backend knowledge articles, which let me go to knowledge here. So if I created for this 2 knowledge articles, and this is generally something that your customer service will be doing to answer questions or kind of gather content that's kind of the common questions or common things that come up. It does not have to be in the Q question and answer type format. For these ones I did, you can put other fields on knowledge. You can add full description type fields. If you want a large content, you can have an HTML field here if you want to add drag and drop images and charts and other things. But for this one, I just put academics. I added a question for admissions. I did the same thing. From the front end here, I just selected my featured topics here, and this automatically goes and sees those 2 featured topics that I have, puts those in there, and that's basically appearing by knowledge features. If I go into one of these, oh, darn it, I didn't map it. I thought I had mapped these. I can show you a different way. Well, in theory, your knowledge articles will all appear here that have the tag of academics, and I can show how that will look in a second. Oh, it's not there. If you were to click on it and we're there, it would kind of pull up to a page like this.
We had a question if videos can be embedded as knowledge articles.
Yeah, let me look into that. I think since it's HTML, you have an HTML formatted field. I think there's one there might be one. Question. So question looks to be a rich text area field. Let's see here. Give me 2 seconds. So yeah, I embed multimedia content. I don't know if this is going to work or if this is just a bad embed link. we can see. Yeah, if I don't know if anybody has a good YouTube embedded link on them that they could share into chat, but that's how you do it. If you went to YouTube or Vineyard or wherever you're hosting your videos, and you grab the embed link, that should work right there. If you're using a HTML or rich text field. So.
Thanks.
So yeah, so that would be where you'd store that. The other thing I wanted to go into in this was the contact forms. So in support, I put both the knowledge articles and contact. So back to the very beginning where I said you can use different templates for things. You could use a help center for knowledge, and that would really support maybe just this. If all you need to do is kind of what's underneath this navigation area, contact us, support, and maybe a chat. That might be all you need, and you don't need to go into a partner or customer type portal, depending on what you're sharing. So this could, if I was only doing these two areas, that might have been a better portal for this. And with just two selections here. For contact us, I do want to get into this show. You can change the fields here. I'm just going to put this in for now. I'm not going to upload a file, but I'll submit this just to show you what's going to happen on the back end. So that was, a case was created, a case pop, the case number comes up. I can see the case number that I created. If there was quicker answers that I wanted here, they'd be right there. If I'm a agent now on the back end and I am looking to see what cases came in, yeah, it's this one. So my time zone's obviously wrong in my environment. But here's the case I just created with my email, test subject, test description, and since I created it internally, it was created by me. But I can show you all how that would work for an external user. So that's, I think, most of the contact us, knowledge, the CMS. I think those were the main three areas that I was kind of going to cover today. Is there anything on those? And Suraj is going to go over the embedded chat and live agent and how that can kind of all be tied into all this, which is down here. Actually, a couple things. I'm sorry. I realized I didn't show here. Is on the builder side is the so the case deflection component. This I forgot to show these from the back end. You can configure what the subject is, the what your empty state is, your content type. So if we had articles or discussions, and then your metrics there. So if you're using knowledge articles, you can use that for case deflection. Also for the contact us support form, that's a component here. The title subject can be changed. You can change what an authenticated user sees versus a guest user. So there is a difference here, and one of the big differences here is guest users cannot upload files. Authenticated users can. These are my global actions within Salesforce. So when I create a new case, that's my global action there. If I used a different global action, it's going to show whatever field that I have associated with that global action. I'm going to go to the new case one because that's the one I set up for this. As I said, the attached file, you can see it here for authenticated users, but that's not an option for guest users. There are workarounds for that, but there's ways to get around that using custom components and other things. And the confirmation text. So you saw when I submitted the case, it gave me some confirmation text that your case was created with a case number. They'll get back soon, case summary. So that this is all fairly configurable as well, what goes in here. And
Patrick, when you, if
Yep.
you, the contact customer support, that widget there, calling it a widget, I know it's not a widget, but does it create it creates a case obviously, but does it create a contact or a lead?
So, let's see here. The new case, there's ways around that not, hang on, let me show this. So so you can see it created the web email here, right? And the web name. You generally are probably going to have to set up processes within Salesforce to create that contact and or lead, depending on how you're associating things, or associate it with existing contacts or leads. Obviously, email kind of is the unique ID that you use to associate to contacts and leads, because generally that's the most important piece of information, maybe phone number. But you can set up roles and logic within Salesforce through like a process or a workflow or something to create that association. And then rather than using the web email, web name, web company, web phone are native fields. But then you could pull in, if I found an email, pmartin@iconx.com, I could pull in, that record to the contact. I could also pull in the account name that I'm associated with. So it depends how much you kind of want to ask in the form versus how much you want to happen on the back end within Salesforce.
Is creating just a case attached to really nothing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's creating a case attached to nothing, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's too complex to create that association. And obviously most people do want to associate that with their contacts and accounts. So then therefore they can look at, how many cases has this person opened, or how many cases has this company opened, and see what type of cases that certain people or certain accounts that they're working with are having. But yeah, that's a great question.
Well, Patrick, if you're using a customer community where the person the visitor to your community has logged in to the community, does it automatically then make the association so it knows who the contact is because they're already a validated contact?
I don't think it does. Still, you can pass that information through. So then back in here, you wouldn't need to ask for the name and web email. It would just be that. Yeah, actually, it might. I have to look into that. Suraj, do you know that one off by any chance?
I don't think it still creates a contact, and it won't be able to associate it because, Patrick, you are right now logged in as an authenticated user, but it's still not associating your case with your contact. So we will still need a process builder behind the scene to. And
you'd probably do it on created by at that point. I mean, there'd be this record was created by me because I'm logged in here. You see that I'm, logged in here. So it knows that I'm created by me. I don't really need to ask the email and the web name, and I could associate, rather than asking for this extra information, which is kind of useless from a logged in user, I could find out that they created the case and then populate that information if it's coming from that channel. Does that make sense?
Yep, following you.
Okay. I think that's most of what I have. Suraj, or does anybody have any questions on everything to that point other than chat?
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah. And then Suraj, do you want to pick up and start sharing your screen? And
Sure.
Let me know if you have trouble.
Yeah, I
Taking-
think I'm okay. Let me check. Thanks, Patrick.
Yep, thank you. And I'm gonna, just so everybody can see what a public community looks like, I'm posting the link to that community in the chat right now. And all of you can go ahead and you should be able to go to that link that I just put in the chat, and you should be able to hit the site that we're kind of showing here, the chat of the Zoom, obviously not the chat that we're getting ready to show. And any of you can create a case. It's going to show up in, in the cases that I have in this org. But if you want to, try it out or create a case that way, feel free to create a case. And as Suraj goes through chat, I'm actually going to be logging into the community myself so I can chat with him.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, Suraj. Yep, thank you.
So creating a chat in Salesforce is relatively very easy, especially if you have a Service Cloud license. So if you have a Service Cloud license, then all you need to do is go to the service setup, and there will be a guided path using which you can create the chat. If you don't have a Service Cloud, then you can do it from setup, but you'll have to go through the step-by-step process and connect a couple of things together. So let me just show you guys how to create it through the guided path. So you'll be able to see the View All button on the right-hand side here. You can click that and click on the Chat with Customers. And it will take you through the various steps in order to create the chat. So here I can give a name. I will call it as Penn State Chat. And I can create a queue as well as name the chat here itself. And I can add all the chat users that or the customer service agents. So I'm just going to add myself and Patrick here. And if you have multiple chats in your org, you can give a priority to each chat. And the reason you have to do this is because if a customer service agent is part of multiple chats, then based on this priority, the chat will be routed to them. If there are multiple chats coming through admissions as well as test chat, then the one with the highest priority will be routed to the customers first. So here I'm just going to give it as 4. So since that's the next priority, click on next. And here you will see the work item. So in Salesforce, a chat is considered as a work item. So what we are saying here is each work item will be considered as 5 points, and the agent's total capacity will be 20, which means if there are too many chats coming in, this agent or the agent associated with this chat will be able to take 4 chats at the same time. You can change it to 5 and 10, which will mean that the agent will be able to take only 2 chats at the same time. So you can customize this according to your organization. So now if you're using the chat, you can use chats in both websites or in your community. So if you're using it in your community, then most of the heavy work will be done by Salesforce itself. So in our case, we are going to use the community. So what we can do is put the URL of the community here. But if you're using a website, then you can put the website domain, which will automatically add that domain into the whitelisted URLs of Salesforce. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to all communities that I have here, and I'm going to copy the URL of the community and paste it here. So all it needs is starting the domain part. So it will take that, and I can click on next. So then there are different types of chat available in Salesforce. So there's a sales type, which means that you can only associate the chat with the leads, and you'll be only able to select the lead fields into the chat. We also have a service, which means the chat will be divided into the cases as well as contact. So you can take information like first name, last name, and email to associate the case with the chat with the case. You also have just contacts if that's something that you need. So I'm going to select the service here, click on next. And when no agents are available to chat, you can select an offline support if you like. So that can take few information like the user's email, what is the subject, description, and later contact them. So in my case, I'm going to turn off the offline support for now. we'll just go with the online support. So clicking on next, and it will create the case for us. Now, since we have done all the setup for the chat through the guided setup, it creates a code for us, right? So if you're implementing the chat in your community, then you don't have to really worry about this code. This will only come into play if you're using the chat and implementing it in your website. So if that's the case, if you're implementing the chat in your website, then you can copy and paste this entire code, and you can put it into the body of the web page or the website, all the different web pages in your website where the chat should appear. But in our case, since it's community, we are just going to click next and get out of this widget. So we are all good here. So right now the chat is created. So if you want to make additional changes to the chat, all you need to do is go to embedded service deployment in the setup, click on it, and you should be able to see the chat that you just created. Yep. So I create the Penn State chat. I can see it here. So I'm going to click on it and make a little bit more changes. So most of the organizations will have their own branding and color palettes. So if you want to make your chat look pretty similar to the website that you have, this is where you come in and adjust the branding. There are only few changes available here, but you can make more changes later on. So here you can set the basic font of the chat as well as the primary and secondary colors. So now if you want to add or remove additional fields that are available in the chat, you click on edit, and here you will be able to see the pre-chat page and the offline support. So in our case, in the guided path, I didn't activate the offline support, so that's why it's inactive. So if you decide to activate it later, you can come here and activate it. So in the pre-chat page, if I click on edit, again, I can see the same options that I selected before. I can click on next, and it's very easy to add or remove fields. So if you can see that it's divided into contact and case section. So if I want to add an additional field, let's say phone number or mobile, all I need to do is I can click on this plus icon, add field here, select the field and click add. It's as easy as that. You can also make different fields required if you need to. So in our case, we are not going to do that. And you can do the same thing with case fields. The only one criteria here is that contact fields needs to appear before case or above case. So you cannot really move the contact fields below the case. It will just give you an error message here. That's the only thing there. You can also do additional brandings here. So when you're starting a chat, it will give an out-of-the-box message saying thank you for chatting with us and all those different labels. So all those things are customizable. So you can just come in here and click on various things, chat in progress, and you can click on chat header. And these are the different messages that the customers see when they are chatting with you. So you can customize it, and that will get displayed on the chat. So once you make all the additional changes, adding a field, removing a field, all those things, you can again go one step back, and then you will get a new code. So the embedded service code snippets, if you click on get code, you will get this code, which you can embed it in your website. Again, if you're using community, then you don't have to really worry about this code. So what we are going to do is, this is the community that Patrick has created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Builder to go inside the community. And like Patrick said, you can view all your components, all the out of the box and the custom components that you have here. So you can search for chat and you will see the embedded service chat. All you need to do is drag and drop to the bottom right-hand corner or wherever you want to place it in your community. So once you do that, you can click on that community, the chat box, and there will be many options available here. So this admissions is the chat we have set up right now, but you can see that the chat that I just created, the chat deployment Penn State, is also available here. You can also do additional configurations here, such as changing the label, button label, offline button label, all those things. And you can see that we have some images here, not the best dimensions, but it's still there. So the way you can, give me 1 second. The way you can change those images in community is over right over here. So you can either add the images into your static resource or files inside Salesforce and then mention them here, or you can directly take them from an external website. The only one thing that you need to remember is any external website that you mention here also needs to be added into the security, and you need to whitelist those URLs. That's the only way the website URLs will work here. So that's mostly on the chat side. I can start chatting, and I can also show that we have enabled Einstein Bot. But do we have any questions till now?
I had a question. So if you're hosting it not within community, so if you're putting it on your website, every time you make a change to it, you have to take a new version of the embedded code and update all the spots you have it on your website?
Not for every change. Like if you change some branding or add an additional field, you will not have to change the code. But if you're making so inside the chat, you have the flow settings, right? So this is when you want to automate some of the part. So things like this, if you change, the code might get changed a little bit, and you will have to add the new code into your website.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, no problem. Patrick, are you?
Suraj, I was going to say too, you can depending on where you put it on your website, like if you have kind of global parameters, like a header or footer section, and that's on every page, and it might make sense to put it in there. So that way you're really not adding it to every page. It's just on the reusable part of of every page.
That's exactly what I was going to suggest. I think one of the things generating the settings too that might catch people out is the offline and online Boolean. That's one thing that does change when you turn on the API for offline support. It does regenerate that in the code. I've been caught out on that one, so I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, you will have to add the new code with your website.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Patrick, are you logged in as a chat user?
Yeah. I can do it, but do you want to show them how to log in just to show from a Salesforce side, or do you want me to?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So what I've done is I have added let me go to the cases. So what I've done is I have added the omni-channel widget into the app. So it's very easy to add. All you need to do is go to App Manager. And if you're using a Service Console app, then you can directly add it. So you can click on, next to the Service Console app that I'm using, you can click on Edit, and there will be the navigational items and utility items. So what I've done is I have added the omni-channel here. So which means that I will be able to see it here. So any user that has been assigned the chat user checkbox in the user license, they will be able to see the omni-channel, and they can change the status here, whether they're offline, online, and when they're offline, the offline chat mode will start working.
And you can just elaborate on that a little bit on the omni-channel. If you have cases coming from multiple places, perfect example being this chat and the case web form, you can have them both route into that omni-channel area. And as Suraj had shown before, of having a certain number of cases queued up at any given time, it's basically the work that you route to an agent. It doesn't just have to come from web forms and chat. Then there's social service as well. So there's connectors, and if you have using like Social Studio, you can connect into like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. So if somebody comments on a post that your marketing channel puts up and it's a negative comment, they can get a case directly in Salesforce and reply in line through that social within Salesforce. So kind of like with a feed tracking or basically how they reply, and it would post it back to that social, showing that, you know, you've probably all seen on Facebook or LinkedIn or something where somebody's put a negative review of something and their company responds back. Well, it would be doing that, but from Salesforce, and they'd all be going into your service department. So I'm logged in as Suraj, by the way.
Okay, so I'm going to take the URL and chat as an not logged in, unauthorized user. So right now I have you can see that the login button is still there. I'm not logged in. So I can come here and start the chat. So once the chat is, once the pre-chat form is filled in, what we have done is we have enabled the Einstein bot. So initially the Einstein bot is what's sending the message, and we can see a few different options here. So what we have done is we have assigned a predefined action to each one of these. So right now, if someone comes and click on academics, it will be automatically rerouted to the website. So they can just click on the link that's provided there, and it will be redirected to the Penn State website. So they can also type in something. So you can train the bot to understand what the customer is typing. And then based on that, the bot can either send them to the knowledge articles that's available in the community, or it can create a case, or it can send them back to the actual website, or many different actions are available. So if I start typing something that's already used to train the bot, then the bot will be able to handle it. Also, if the customer feels that they're not able to navigate through this, they can also click on the transfer to agent, which will take them, which will transfer the chat to a customer service agent. So I can click on the main menu here, and Patrick, you are logged in, right?
Yeah, did you do the one with the question yet? I know you're saying you could type in a question, but
sure. I don't know the questions that we have. I can come back to that.
Okay.
So if I click on transfer to agent, then it will just go to the service agents that are available.
Yeah. So, and you guys can't see my screen, but I'm in Salesforce as that agent. So I got a pop-up that shows there's a chat to answer. So I just clicked it, and give me 2 seconds. There we go.
So yep, basically that's how you can connect the Einstein bot with the chat, as well as do some actions based on that.
And also to go into that too, Suraj, if you want to look for those questions, as that as that comes into me on the, I'll share my. Can you turn off your screen for 1 second, or?
Sure. Yeah, you can share your screen.
You can see, so this is from the Salesforce side, or the Service Cloud side, is that conversation came in. I don't know what details I have set up here. It tells you what deployment it's coming from, the case, the contact. So this is all the information he filled out prior to the chat starting. You can, again, I have his IP address. So sorry, Suraj, if people start pinging you in certain different ways. But yeah, you can find out all the pieces of information from that come in from the chat. If there were past chats, you would see that. Even his contact details, that information came here. And then on top of that, even though it's using a chat bot in the beginning, the entire chat comes through. So as that agent connects, the chat's already started. So if you're using things like type ahead or all that, you can see the conversation going on before technically they transfer to you, but you wouldn't know they're going to transfer to you. So it's kind of would be a lot of extra work to be watching every chat. But as they do transfer to you, that agent does have the ability to kind of look through, see that connected to bot, they collected academics, they went to this academic link, they probably didn't like that, they went back to the main menu, they transferred to an agent. Now they're talking to me. So from this, I can assume maybe they're going to ask more about academics that this link didn't handle. So it does kind of prepare you a little more for the agent, a little more for what, you know, that next question is going to be.
So Patrick, it looks like in this case, it did create a contact with your.
Yeah, so the chat will create the contact and the case. I need to look into it for the web case. I mean, it's using, like I said, it's using global actions. So for that case contact, so I would just need to look more into the actions. I don't.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I just was curious.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Does anybody else have any? Like, I can't think off the top of my head if a global action is only tied to one object, right?
Yes. I believe so.
Patrick, this is Jim. I just did a little bit of research while you were continuing your demo. I think my confusion about associating the case with an existing contact has to deal with how you got to that on your page. In the community components, there's a separate component that is the contact support button. Now, I believe that you were showing us the contact support form. And the button, if you're logged in as a customer community user, associates it with your identity, your existing contact record. Whereas the contact support form is, I believe, intended to be more for like a public website where you don't have identity already set.
Yeah. Contact support button. Yeah, so here's a contact support button. It looks like that's just taking me to this form now. Hold on. Let me just put this on homepage just for example. Styling information. Yeah, that's just redirecting to the contact support page. Let me see what else is down here. Case deflection, channel menu, contact request button, and this might be button and form. Hold on, it might be the joint one. Actually, I don't know which one I was using. Create case or create support. So that's a good point.
I didn't mean to hijack your presentation. I'll continue.
No, that's fine.
And I can always post in the success group.
Yeah, and I think I'm not going to solve it all in 2 seconds, but
I was just more curious. I'm not.
support form. Yeah, let me see what this other one is though, just since we're so that's the support form. There was another form here that I wasn't using, create custom form, custom case form.
Patrick, would it be worth mentioning some of the pre-chat and post-chat capabilities too for other folks who might not be using communities?
Yeah, we can go into that in a second. Yeah, I'll have to look into that more. I'll follow up on that one. Suraj, are you good? And do you want to go back to the sharing your screen, and then you can probably maybe touch on some of the pre-chat and post-chat type of scenarios as well.
Sure. Are we talking about the different fields that we can use for the pre-chat, post-chat part?
I was specifically mentioning some of the things we do today is we auto-populate some of the fields we have on the form via JavaScript API, the embedded service API. And it also touches on matching contacts. With the API, you can do like is exact match. So you can supply like first name, last name, and email address. And then using the API, make sure it finds a match and doesn't create a new contact. Things like that. I don't know if that's too detailed, but that's one thing we use today, the money, to stop duplicate contacts getting created from authenticated users versus non-authenticated users. We use chat not in communities, but in our core application.
Got it. Yep. So basically, by default, I think it creates, it uses email to match the contacts. And there could be people with multiple emails, and which means there will be multiple contacts created. So one way to take care of that is definitely using the API. There is also, you can also use a case trigger. So what you can do is you can put all the fields in the case itself instead of creating a contact. So then using the case trigger, you can create the contact using custom matching. It could be first name, last name, email, or phone number, or whatever is the matching criteria for in your case. So I have found one of the questions that, so let me start the chat from the beginning. So I was going to show you the training of the bot. So let me start on the chat.
And after he does this, I'll go to some of that post chat as well. But.
So like I said, when the chat gets started, initially it will be the bot that will be handling. So they can choose one of these options, or if they want something else, they can start typing here. So if it is something, if the customers can say the same thing in different ways. So initially you will have to go through your cases from the previous last year or 2 years, and you will have to train the bot for these questions. So when the customer says something like this, what should the bot do? Can I take college classes while in high school, right? So you can train the bot to either redirect the user to one of these options, or you can, if the bot doesn't understand it, then the bot can just transfer the chat to the customer service agent. So for this question, this is something we have trained the bot on. So you can see that when the user types something like this, it will show them a predefined message. If they don't understand it, something like, let's say, financial aid, right? This is not something we have trained the bot on. So what it will do is, it will just show up the menu option again, or it can show the user that the bot cannot understand what it's saying, and it can automatically transfer to the agent.
Yeah, and also with that, the bot can continue to learn. So if you're already thinking about using a bot, you can load a predefined set of sentiment to try to train the bot initially. You can, roll it out with a smaller user group at first, and any questions that it can't answer get stored in the Salesforce configuration side, and then you can add those questions or map those questions to pre-existing answers. Some of those answers might be, things like, as you said, knowledge. So if you're using public knowledge, you can redirect them to a public knowledge site. If you have a question that, somebody asks a question which you already have knowledge articles for, you already have other similar questions that are like that, but maybe the bot didn't understand that particular grouping of words or whatever, it can, every day, you can go and retrain the bot basically and to keep improving it. So that's kind of why it's, probably good to roll it out with a smaller group first, realize that you're going to kind of be in a hypercare support with the service team or whoever's, owning kind of that bot conversation for a little while until you get most of the core questions answered, and then you can roll it out to a bigger team and then again, train it more and more. But you know, the more you train it, obviously, the better it's going to get. It's going to understand more keywords. It's going to see more types of questions to pick up on. It's using basically machine learning that, you know, it needs some type of training to understand how to direct things to a different place. Suraj, do you want to go to transfer agent again real quick? And then I'm going to just kind of hang up on you to talk about the post chat.
Sure. So let me click on the menu button and transfer to agent.
There might not be an agent online. I might have clicked off it. Hold on.
It's trying to connect.
Hold on, actually. Or did I move that to a different page?
Do you want me to start another chat, Patrick? Are you still logged in?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I wasn't on that. Go ahead and start another chat.
Okay. Let me close this.
Patrick, while you're doing this, I do have a question that might interest others too. Have you guys built much with offline support? So like have a bot available kind of 24/7, but then, you know, if they pick transfer to an agent, it goes into some sort of a flow where we obviously say that the agents aren't available. Would you like to create a case? Like, have you experimented much with that?
Yeah, we'll kind of provide the, you know, kind of like the office hours, you know, if you call for, almost like a call center will do, where you'd call somewhere and it might be a 24/7 call center that says, you know, it's a robot all the way through. But then once you get to the end of the road, it says, you know, live agents are only available 9 to 5 these hours. We can either, you know, redirect them back to like that contact us form, or the contact would have already been created here, since they filled out that initial information. And, you know, and if you'd like further information, yeah, the agent can follow up with you, and it creates, you know, the case is always created for these. So that's part of it, is what do you want done with those cases? Like if a case, we've mostly seen where honestly we could create the case and the, Suraj, is that transferring to an agent?
I have to click, sorry.
Oh. You might need to refresh on your end. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, most of the time it'll create the case anyway, and we're not closing the case out, and no matter what, even if a bot answered it, we're still letting the human still wants to review the case and close it themselves. So if they did try to transfer to an agent, that whole chat session would be captured. You'd see what their initial question was. And at that point, the live agent, human agent that comes in on Monday morning, 9 o'clock, would still, you know, they might review 10 cases. 9 of them they're going to close immediately because they're going to see nobody tried to transfer to an agent. The ones where they do transfer to an agent, we haven't gotten that far yet, but you could obviously put a flag on it, or, you know, put a different status on it, says they tried to transfer an agent wasn't online. But they'd still be reviewed by, I'll just leave this on for a second, Suraj. It would still be reviewed by a human that Monday morning, and then that human could decide if they want to send an email back to the human that, you know, a person that tried to create the case, or, you know, how that would be handled. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So Suraj just transferred to me here. Can you end that chat now?
Sure, Patrick.
So if Suraj ends the chat, oh, we didn't have it in this one, darn. You do have options at the end of chats to get the chat transcript sent to you. So there's an option so you can get the entire chat transcript sent to the person in the chat. you can change, you can put a survey at the end of the chat. So if you want let it be a bot or a human, if you want to have a survey seen to see how, the bot or human handled it, you can kind of have that customer satisfaction survey at the end. You can do it either through a button that's available within the chat. You could have that button linked to, I've seen it linked to external surveys like SurveyMonkey, or Salesforce actually has its own surveys built in Salesforce. All of you should have access to the built-in Salesforce surveys. I think that's a native functionality, but I think you only get 300 respondents for free. So if you're expecting more than 300 respondents, you have to pay for it then. But you can all see how to set one up. It's pretty easy. I think they're the main kind of post-chat things that I've seen. Is there anything else there to add around post-chat? Suraj, anybody?
I think those are mainly the things I have done too.
Okay.
I
So I think
will.
that's mostly everything. Yeah.
I will add the supervisor, omnichannel supervisor, was something eMoney found very valuable. We handle up to like 300 to 500 chats a day, and it's very, very good to see something like that out of the box functionality for coming from Salesforce. It was an easy move for us to came from Olark to Salesforce Live Agent, so it's another cool functionality too.
Yeah, I don't know if I have I don't know that I set that up in the demo, but what he's referring to is that there's out of the box functionality objects for the survey managers, and it basically there's a bunch of extra functions we didn't go into with the chat, in that you can see type ahead, which we didn't show. As Suraj, if he were typing on the front end, I can see what he's typing before he even hits enter. So if he was typing a long-winded paragraph, I could be reading it before he even hits enter. So as a service agent, I can already be researching things before he's finished his last 3 words. That's a really nice feature. So that the type ahead or chat ahead, I forget what it's exactly called. The survey manager or survey supervisor, it gives you also kind of similar to that. It gives you the kind of like a dashboard to see all your agents' chats, what's going on. There's also the ability to kind of stalk your service agent. So if Suraj was a service agent and he's chatting with somebody, as a manager, I can hop into his chat, and they have a feature called Whisper. So I can, as I'm training Suraj, I can whisper what his comment back should be, or kind of train him and direct him in the manner that he needs to kind of respond. So, our new service agents, it's always a good feature to kind of help train them and help onboard them. Plus it gives the managers a little insight to make sure people are having good conversations and different things like that.
It's very, very helpful for all the reasons Patrick mentioned. Makes our day-to-day a lot easier.
Also, similar to that omni-channel supervisor, transferring the chat to a different agent, as well as conferencing multiple agents into your chat, is also an out-of-the-box functionality. We haven't set it up in this org, but that's something some of the clients are using.
So do you have a lot of your higher ed customers using this?
The higher ed customers are using chat, and they're just starting with the Einstein bot, at least one of the clients that I'm working with. They're using Einstein bot to mainly transfer or redirect the customers to their websites where they have more information, since they don't have the community yet.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
Well, this has been extremely helpful. I think I'm going to go build a community probably this week with our team. Patrick, hopefully you didn't make it look too simple, but I think between Google referring to your Penn State example, I think we could probably put together something for our internal Salesforce team to take a look at. I don't like speaking on their behalf because I'm not on the Salesforce team. I kind of just learn as much as I can myself and then present it.
Yeah, and obviously we showed this in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. You know, we created a very basic, what I would say, community and chat with, you know, most real company requirements come into play, and, you know, you start getting everybody's feedback, and, you know, marketing wants to be picky about colors, and somebody else is going to be picky about content and the way things are ordered. So it's always great to see how easy this is without having real requirements, but there's, you know, it's always good to kind of, in my opinion, kind of show how easy it is to do these things and let people think about what they could do, and not, you know, rather, sometimes it's easier, it helps with the requirement gathering for things like that.
Guys, this is Boyan. First of all, thanks Patrick and Suraj for doing this presentation. Just to kind of a couple of thoughts, you know, as we deal with other customers, especially during this COVID-19 times. I mean, like for anybody, you know, who's using call centers now with getting a lot of inbound requests, calls, Einstein chatbot is definitely a great, you know, kind of tool to go after it. And again, the implementation of it should be in an agile way. I mean, don't expect everything, the chatbot to answer it. So it has to be trained, and it takes a period of time, but the more responses and more feedback you get, it's better it is. And then secondly, from the higher ed standpoint, I've seen like now, you know, student inquiries are also getting more and more, and I've seen that being leveraged very effectively. So it's a great tool, you know, at this time in order to increase engagement, you know, with your current customers.
Very cool.
Okay, guys, I actually have to jump, but I do appreciate the presentation. It was very good.
Yep. Does anybody else have any other questions or anything else? And like I said, Donna, Bill, I'll send this out over to you guys if you want to send it out to everybody. I didn't include too many links, but like I was saying, the link to the Salesforce Ben article here was just a nice one, because there's a lot of out-of-the-box functionality and some of those features we didn't cover with Einstein Knowledge Article Recommendation, which is pretty easy to set up, and it basically directs once a case comes in based on the subject and description. So based on the some natural language processing, it'll show the service agent the most relevant case or most relevant knowledge article for that case. Suraj kind of went through the Einstein Bots a little bit. Einstein Case Classification kind of, it can, similar to the knowledge article recommendation, it can look at certain sentiment in your case, in some of the text fields. And if you have certain pick list values, it can classify those values kind of by default to make your agent experience a little better, because they'll have a lot of their, you know, maybe values that they have to pre-select already filled out for them. They can still change them if it's not right, but it's doing it that way.
Very cool. Well, we thank you guys for your presentation. I mean, it was very informative, especially for me, because we're looking into this kind of stuff now. So it was very timely for me. I don't know, Bill, if you had anything else to say around the presentation or.
No, yeah, I think it was great. It was a big, I haven't gotten myself personally, I haven't gotten into much of this. So it was very eye-opening and got my wheels turning on a lot of things.
The only thing else